Okay, let's use some basic trigonometry to figure out how tall this building is. So the situation is we have this building, and 500 feet away from the base of the building, let's say you're on the ground, you had some sort of optical instrument, and you measure the angle from here all the way up to the height of the building, and that's 20 degrees. Okay, so that's a measurement right here. Again, it's 500 feet away from the base of the building, and we kind of have to assume the building is a right angle. It's forming a 90 degrees. It's not like the Leaning Tower of Pizza, or did I say that right? I probably said that wrong. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. It's not going this way. So it's a right angle, and we have 500 feet this way, okay, from the base all the way out where we took this measurement, and the measurement's 20 degrees. We know this is 500 feet. So could we find the height of this building? Absolutely. We got enough data, but we need now knowledge of trigonometry, some basic trigonometry. And of course, a handy calculator will help us out as well. Back in the good old days when you didn't have a calculator, and calculators have been around for many, many years, and then computers have been around for even longer. But when people had to calculate these things, let's say like a high school student or a college student, when they were doing trigonometry, to find out, what we do on our calculator when we're doing messing around with angles, you had to look in the back of a book. Now, some books, I don't see them around anymore, but old math books in the back, you'd have tables, with sine, tangent, cosine, etc. You look things up. And I remember learning math in that way. And then you had these things called slide rules, which were absolutely amazing. They're like little rulers, and you slide this thing around, and you'd actually be able to do a lot of calculations on this. And this is the way people would uh, do math. I would say, let's say 50 years ago from the time of this video, people were using slide rules, definitely like in the late 60s, early 70s, and then calculators came along and replaced that, just so you can kind of have a little history lesson about this stuff. But nevertheless, we need to use our calculator, and I'll show you what we need to do here with that calculator in just 1 second. Okay, now, if you think you could figure this problem out and you want to test your basic trigonometry knowledge, then I definitely encourage you to do so. But I'm going to show you how to do this step by step in just 1 second. But first, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John. I'm the founder of TabletClass Math. I'm also a middle and high school math teacher, and over several years, I've constructed what I like to believe is one of the best online math help programs there is. Of course, I'll let you be the judge of that. You can check out my math help program by following the link in the description of this video. But basically, I offer 100 plus different comprehensive math courses ranging from pre-algebra, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2. I'm going to be launching pre-calculus here shortly. But I also do a lot in the area of test preparation. So if you're studying for the GED, SAT, ACT, CLEP exam, AccuPlacer, ALEX exam, maybe the ASVAB, maybe a teacher certification exam, all those type of exams have a lot of math on them. Okay, and it could be basic math, it could be advanced math. But if you don't do well in the math sections, you don't do well on the exam, and it has serious consequences. So let me help you out. Just go to my website. I should have. You can check out my full course catalog. I should have your test. If I do not have your test, just drop me a line and I'll help you out the best I can. I also do a lot with independent learners like homeschoolers. So if you homeschool, I have a great homeschool learning system. Been working with homeschoolers for many, many years. And then lastly, I help those of you that are just having a tough time in your current math course. Now, one thing, if you're serious about really wanting to learn math, again, if you're not serious about learning math, then disregard what I'm going to tell you. But if you're truly serious about wanting to improve and learn math, then you got to take great math notes. Okay, so over decades of teaching math, it's apparent to me that those students who really, really put the work and effort in to take great notes every day, they always do very well. And then the reverse is true. Those students who like to look at their cell phone during class, talk to their friends, do homework in another class, in math class, all the stuff that I did, except for the cell phone part, because I went to school in the good old 1980s. Okay, but believe me when I tell you, we were plenty distracted as well. Okay, at least I was, all right? So, that's why I have to ask you, if you're serious about wanting to learn math or improve, then you got to do your part. Your part is to take notes. Okay, you have that responsibility because note taking is all about focus. All right, you got to be focused or you're not going to learn math. Okay, but as you improve in your note taking, I have something that you can study from. notes. So those would include pre-algebra, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, and trigonometry. You can find the links to those notes in the description of this video. All right, let's get into this problem, basic trigonometry. And here we go. All right, so how tall is a building? Now, this is a pretty practical application of trigonometry because imagine, if you're up here, how could we measure this building? Well, it's not like you're going to go up with a tape measure. You stand on top of the building and you're like dangle down maybe a string. You could do it that way, right? Like a little rope or something. And then you go down on the ground and you're going to measure out this little rope. Now, if you, in a practical sense, yes, you could do that, but let's suppose this thing is like so high. Just use your imagination. This is like, and it's also pretty dangerous, right? So we want to use math to help us out here. So to figure out the height of this building, well, if we have data like this, and this isn't the only information that we could have this angle, and we could have this length here, but that's obviously we're not going to be able to have this length from here to here. Okay, how would we practically be able to get that? Obviously, I can measure this out safely on the ground and get this angle. So this little thing right here, this reminds me when I was in the Marine Corps, we had this thing called the slide for life, and we would kind of like slide down this little thing like this. And of course, the drill instructors would be screaming at you, then you just fall down into the water. But that's another story. I digress. Those are good old memories in my past. But anyways, continue on. Okay, we have this angle here. We have this length. We can definitely figure this thing out. So what you want to do is distill down this little situation into a triangle, because this is what we're dealing with. Okay, so let's make a little model here. So effectively what we have is this. We're trying to find the height of the building. That's this side of the triangle. This length is 500 feet. We'll just call it 500 for now. And this angle here is 20 degrees, and that is a right triangle. Okay? All right, so we're talking about basic right triangle trigonometry. And when you're talking about basic right triangle trigonometry, you're dealing with these functions, these trigonometric ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, so we need to pick the right one that we want to use here. Now, which one do I want to use? Well, I have this. I'm looking for this here. I'm interested in this side of the triangle, and I have this piece right here, and this is my angle. So this SOHCAHTOA, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but you should be. SOHCAHTOA, this is sine. The sine of an angle is equal to its opposite over our hypotenuse. The cosine is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. Now in this triangle, let me just draw a little triangle right here. If this is my angle, 20 degrees, the longest side of a right triangle is always the hypotenuse, okay? That's always h, okay? So I don't have h here. Now, looking at this 20 degrees, the side that's adjacent to it, that's next to, would be this. That's the adjacent side. And then the side that's opposite is obviously the opposite side, okay? So in this situation, when I'm looking at this 20 degrees, I have the adjacent, and I'm interested in the opposite. So I want to pick the trigonometric function that has both the adjacent and opposite, and I'm sorry, the opposite and the adjacent, and that would be tangent. Okay, so we're going to use the tangent here because if I use the cosine, I need this length. I need, and both for sine and cosine, I need the hypotenuse, and I don't have that. Okay, I don't have this length, and I'm interested in this, so we're going to use the tangent. But sometimes you have this other information, and you'll have to use the sine or cosine. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to use the tangent because it involves both the opposite and the adjacent with respect to this particular angle in this triangle. Okay? All right, so if you understand that, now we can kind of pull this all together. All right, so here's the work. Again, we're thinking TOA, SOHCAHTOA, TOA, so tangent is equal to opposite over adjacent. That's what that stands for, this little TOA. It's a little deal. So the tangent of 20 degrees, okay, is equal to its opposite side. In this case, it's x. Okay, this is the opposite over the adjacent, and the adjacent side is 500. Okay, so this is by definition the opposite over the adjacent. So tangent of 20 degrees is opposite over adjacent, or here, x over 500. So you got to understand this setup here, all right? Now at this point, this is effectively just a basic proportion. Let's just put this over 1. So I can solve for x by just cross multiplying, okay? If you're confused about proportions, um, solving proportions, I have tons of videos in my algebra channel, but all we need to do is take 500, multiply it by tangent of 20 degrees, and that's what I have right here. 500 times tangent of 20 degrees, and 1 times x is x. So x is going to be equal to 500 times tangent of 20 degrees. Make sure your calculator is in degree mode, okay? And when you do that, you'll get x is approximately equal to 181.9. Okay, so that's what x is equal to. But what does that represent? Well, x was the height of the building. So the building is 181.9 feet approximately. There's a few other decimals we can kind of round up. And that's it. Okay, so this is an illustration of basic trigonometry, basic right angle trigonometry. Um, but obviously, when you're learning a topic or a subject like trigonometry, we have to start off with the basics, okay? And this is kind of the basics, but we get an appreciation of the power of trigonometry. It's so powerful, okay? And today, when you study trigonometry, typically you start studying it within a geometry course, okay? Like in my geometry course, teach you basic right angle trigonometry, but in my pre-calculus course, we're going to be launching. I teach you advanced trigonometry, and it gets pretty advanced. And I just can't wait to launch this pre-calculus course. Just a few more weeks, and it'll be available from the time of this video. All right, so if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, if you're like, okay, this was helpful, wasn't a waste of my time. Well, if that's the case, boy, I can't even spell like. Let me start again. L-I-K-E. That's like. You see, I can help you with math, but when it comes to spelling and grammar, you definitely want to stay away from my help with that subject because, we all have our strengths and weaknesses. Math is my strength, but grammar, things like that, I'm terrible with. Anyways, but if you like this video, please consider smashing the like button. And if you're new to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing. Been on YouTube for over 10 years. I have over 1,000 videos, basic to advanced, on my channel, all there for you. My passion is to try to teach math in a clear and understandable way. So if you like my teaching style, I have tons of videos there for you, and I'm posting new content like every week, okay? But my best math help for sure will be within my math help program. Okay, so with that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.